Hello and welcome to Wake and Jake. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Feliz Navidad. It's another way to say Merry Christmas. I was talking about that downstairs this morning. Anyways, let's talk sports instead of the languages on this beautiful December 30th. This will be the last Wake and Jake of the new year. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Bregman signs with the Yankees tonight. No, there's no rumors on that. We will talk about some of the remaining free agents because a lot of shoes have dropped since we last talked here. May have seen you on some other programming, but the last live episode of Wake and Jake was Christian Walker's an Astro. That we have seen a lot of transactions since then. McCutchen to the Pirates. No, we're not going to start there. But a ton. The first base market, Carlos Santana to Cleveland, Nathaniel Lowe, Gleyber Torres 1 year to the Detroit Tigers. Sean Manaea gets the big contract done with the Mets. Walker Buehler to the Red Sox. Dreading that one a little bit. And the big one, Corbin Burnes signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks, which still a sentence when you say it out loud feels a little odd.
It still doesn't really feel real.
His family wanted it? Who were they in the market? Did they call them? How'd that go down? I still want to know that.
One of the rare, zero rumor major signings.
No rumors. I'm taking half pats on the back because I said I didn't have a Corbin Burnes team. Like, the Mets was supposed to be the layup, and the Orioles was the backup layup. But the Orioles still haven't signed a big free agent. And the Mets, it feels like they're investing in pitching or hitting more so financially than the pitching, where they're taking some chances on Montas, Clay Holmes. Although Manaea returns and he was really strong for them. But still, I don't know. I think we've hit a weird part with Sean Manaea where it's like, hey, I think Sean Manaea kind of took off and had a big second half. I don't know what we should be penciling Sean Manaea in for, but I think he's currently the Mets 1B, Sanga Manaea. But I still have my theory that they're going old Brewers pitching factory. They will find pitching, and they're paying for hitting because, my God, Lindor, Soto, will Pete come back, Mark Vientos, Nimmo gets paid a lot. People forget that. And the rest of those kids, Jose Siri, forgot about that. Might have to make my way to Flushing this year. Siri and Soto celebrations, those will be good. So let's get into that. Our guy and future friend that we've talked about on the program, Kiley McDaniel, came out with his best and worst free agency and trade moves so far. That's always, feel like the editors at ESPN told him, hey, we need this one. Because it's tough.
We have to be able to make this a title.
It's a great click. It's a great click. It might be the title of this. But let's start recapping through it, and then we'll get into some football a little bit because my college football playoff let me down a little bit to start. Give you some thoughts on that. And the NFL sneaks and ekes closer to the postseason. So let's go through baseball. And I forget if I said it on the way through because I kind of keep forgetting. Jesus Luzardo.
Yeah.
Traded to the Phillies. That one kind of got brushed under the rug. That guy was supposed to be one of the biggest trade prizes as of last year. And the Phillies make a strength of streak. So maybe let's start with them, and maybe that's just because our resident Philly fan, Shelfie, is in the office today and said hi to him. Phillies, man, and I laughed. I hit Shelfie with a it's been quiet, huh? He's like, yeah, we're not doing nothing. They traded for Luzardo, which that's clearly something. Very talented starting pitcher, added to one of the best starting pitching staffs in baseball. They also signed Max Kepler, which again, for how free agency moves go, it's not one of the biggest moves this year, but it's also, could Max Kepler hit 30 for the Phillies next year and we'd be like, that was nice?
Oh, we let them just have him.
Definitely. Hitter's ballpark. Max Kepler's felt like he's had the talent. A little change of scenery, surrounded by more talent. It could easily go the other direction. Welcome to free agency or baseball as a whole. And yeah, I guess it just has left the question mark. Are the Phillies done here? They reinforced their rotation with Wheeler, Sanchez, Nola, Suarez, Luzardo. They also got Jordan Romano. So the Phillies standard is being held to a crazy area that we're like, it's been kind of quiet for Philly. Might have added a closer. Luzardo's listed as their 5. He could easily be their 3. We'll see how the season plays. And Max Kepler's probably more or less an everyday outfielder for them. That along with all the stars that we're very familiar with at this point. Philly's been in the mix. It's just, are they going to make the big move? Because supposedly they keep wanting to be in on crazy moves. Yamamoto, they were getting in on the bidding on him last year. Was it Soto or was it someone else they were talking to this year that they were doing the same Phillies, like we're in on them, but that doesn't mean we need it. We just think they're really good. I forget.
Yeah, I think they ended up like not getting a Soto meeting, but everyone
Right.
kind of thought they could be a sneaky one for him. Everyone keeps trying to speak Bregman into existence.
That's honestly the final thing at this point, because if you're looking for guys to play, it's the Alec Bohm rumors. Shelfie casually, so I don't want him to be held to this, but he was like, I think they keep Bohmer and they roll it out till midseason and see what it looks like. Who knows? Because right now, if you're looking at a starting pitcher, who are you taking out of the rotation? Ranger Suarez? I mean, they still have Taijuan Walker. And they signed Joe Ross. Don't let that sneak by you. Had an okay year last year. But yeah, I don't know. If they were trading Alec Bohm and signing Bregman, they would have to. It would be another move we know nothing about. I guess Brandon. I don't know. We keep doing this like Brandon Marsh is listed as their center fielder. He's good. He's good. It's not a weak spot.
Good player.
So, Phillies are in the mix. Will be in the mix. And, man, there's a lot of coastal elitist stuff going on because a lot of the signings are A, NL. Crazy all the talent that's leaving the AL. And then B, it's a lot of the coastal teams. I mean, even with my Snakes getting involved there. And I probably should have started with them because it's Corbin Burns o'clock. Was it 6 years, 210?
6 years, 210. Opt out after 2.
6 years, 210. Opt out after 2. Crazy that there was some weird Burns stuff going on about, his cutter had been declining a little bit, and what do the next few years look like for Corbin Burns? Finished last year, 32 starts at 292. His cutter got better as the season went on, and the voice of God, Saris, chimed in and was like, this is a good contract. Like, Corbin Burns has one of the best pitches in baseball. It got better as the year went on. And there were some conversations about him and the Orioles working on different shapes for the cutter. So maybe they just tried some stuff and landed back where they did. And it's not like, it wasn't a disaster class. It's not like Corbin Burns had a 4.5 and then they were like, hey, scrap it. 32 starts, 194 innings, a 2.92 ERA. And yeah, there's some funny business around it. There's a lot of times when we talk contracts and then we land at the, whichever team gives them the best deal, which it feels like that's going, I don't want to say by the wayside, but it's opportunity, it's money.
There's a certain minimum that any team that's going to get him is going to have to reach.
It's not exactly dollars and cents, but for Corbin Burns, we had the 3-letter word thrown out there, tax. The Arizona taxes are better. It sounded like it was coming down to San Francisco and Toronto, which those teams have 2 of the worst taxes. So, okay, I'm open to that being part of the conversation. It is a weird, interesting thing that doesn't get talked about with baseball a lot, that it's half your games.
Yeah.
So, like, when they play in road cities, they get taxed that rate, which is just bizarre.
Like, they,
Why?
need accountants to...
That's nuts.
I get that legally, and it happens in other jobs that move around.
We
but
go on a business. We go to the All-Star game in Texas. It's not like for those 3 days, unless you're supposed to. And now we go to jail.
Unless somebody's trying to get us in trouble for it. We've been going to states that are knowing, so we're paying too much.
I don't know how it works. Seems a little ridiculous. I do know how it works. But, so that was part of the Corbin Burnes decision, which, okay, when you're talking that many dollars, and, I think Arizona was something like 4%, and you're talking San Francisco, I think it's 13, and no one actually knows the Toronto number. Somebody definitely knows, but everyone says it's higher than that. So whatever. So half of his games, he gets taxed at a 4% clip instead of 13%. That's significant, depending where the numbers landed. Now, supposedly other teams had higher offers. So, again, what was that gap? And the other thing I'd be interested in were the years. Like, we were surprised when Max Fried's contract dropped and it was 8 years. Like, we were doing the thing. In the office, it was 6 years, great. 7 years, okay. And then 8 years happened, and we were all like, also okay. Also okay. We got Max Fried. Let's worry about that when we have to worry about that. Corbin Burnes, reminder, younger than Max Fried. Beard effect. Man effect. 6 years. And the money's in a similar place. So great for Corbin Burnes. Great for the Diamondbacks, which the whole thing, people didn't know what they'd be doing this offseason. Everyone thought the big Diamondbacks move would be dumping Jordan Montgomery, which hasn't happened yet. Currently listed in their rotation. We'll see. Their owner, I always have to look, Ken Kendrick, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Ken.
One of the better names.
Ken came out, and his Jordan Montgomery quotes were tough. What did he say? A horrible decision. That's tough. That's tough for Monty. That's tough for your GM. So we'll see what happens, but it felt like they were going to move Monty after the owner came out and said it's a horrible decision. We'll see what happens there. I mean, that's 25.2, something like that. There was another one of the PHNX guys that I've mixed it up with them before due to my Snakes fandom. He was like, I think the tweet was, hey, if we sign Kirby Yates, is that a successful offseason for us? So the bar was low. No offense to Kirby Yates, who was incredible last year. Go check out Kirby Yates' stats. Any team could use Kirby Yates.
I think they still want him.
Still might. Arizona, that had done nothing. I think they were one of the teams that really hadn't brought anyone in. They traded Josh Naylor for Slade Ciccone, a competitive pick. I think they were in an interesting spot with Slade, and who knows what they knew about Corbin Burnes at the time. Did they know that had momentum, that, Slade, who might have been their 7th or 8th starter, made him more expendable to bring in Josh Naylor. I got called out by Snakes fans, my people, because I've been saying that in my head, Josh Naylor is a Joc Pederson replacement, because Josh Naylor doesn't grade out great defensively, that they've had 2 holes to replace. They've had to replace first base and DH, Joc Pederson and Christian Walker. Pretty significant holes. Those guys got contracts. Joc signed.
Yeah.
No one talked about that. Someone probably did. Is my look good today or bad? Do I look older?
Ooh.
Is it something with this hair and jacket? I can't tell.
Hair, little Q-zip.
If you're on the YouTube, tell me there's something with this look. Is it Star Wars-y? I don't know. And hey, as you know, we're doing year-end stuff. Thank you guys. The Wake and Jake YouTube up to 24K subs. So if you listen on there regularly, please subscribe. Even if you don't, it all helps out.
Listen on the podcast apps. We're on YouTube.
We're everywhere. And yeah, there's something. This is unique for me. Maybe it's the marker with it.
It's certainly different.
Interesting. Jim will know. I've said Josh Naylor is a Joc Pederson replacement. Lefty, power. Naylor had a breakout year last year. And he doesn't grade out that great defensively. First base defense is a weird thing to measure. But the other thing that's just been in my head, this old noggin, Christian Walker was the best. So when you think about organizations and philosophies and how the front office thinks, and everyone in our office was reading the book The Yankee Way for a month there, that, okay, if you're the Yankees, the second baseman has to have a strong arm because they have to do relay. Like, organizations have little things that it's not always just put the best team on the field. It was hard for me to picture the Diamondbacks going from Christian Walker, who led every defensive leaderboard, to Josh Naylor. I had some Snakes fans reach out that said they very much believe, I want to say it's their first base coach who's their infield defense guy. They said he's done good things. So they're thinking maybe they can coach Naylor up a little bit. I'm not fully bought in. I thought it was interesting to see a fan base do that because we rarely see the fan base give full compliments like that.
And it's like multiple people saying something to you.
Yeah.
Sean Larkin, I have listed as third base coach / infield coach on their site, if that's who you were told about.
Yeah, I forget if it was him or they have a roped up first base coach.
Dave McKay is their first base coach.
Everyone loves Dave McKay. Dave McKay, whew, roped up 74-year-old Canadian man. Whew, running first base, fake teeth. I like him.
Like that.
21 homers in the show. Born in 1950. Think about what that guy's seen. What? He was 20 during Woodstock? 19?
Sorry about Jimmy Carter.
R.I.P. Jimmy C. 100. Wild.
That's cool.
Wilt numbers. I want to see the D-backs' next move, as anyone does, and there's different ways they could go about it. And hey, if they had $610 million for Corbin Burnes, which the other thing that's a crazy note in this whole conversation is they're one of the RSN teams that their TV contract has ended in a weird spot. I believe they were selling their games by themselves last year. Like, you could just stream them.
Yeah, they were like the first team to kind of have to do a major pivot, I think.
Yes. So, again, was that good for them financially? It was good enough that they were able to spend $210 million on Corbin Burnes. Again, Corbin Burnes wanted to come there. I mentioned the tax reasons. Also, his family lives there. And he has 3 young kids now. I want to say there was a rumor about twins or something.
I know he has at least the set of twins, and I think there is a third, and spring training gets to be there too, and he's from there. So
the Arizona spring training thing is no joke. Depending wherever you are from, think about it. Corbin Burnes is going to live in Arizona. Now he has half his home games there, where his family already lives, and 2 months of spring training.
Normally is away.
Massive. That's massive to get the contract he's looking for and erase the name Diamondbacks. The joke I made that wasn't a joke. I was wearing the hat. I took it off. I put on this other team's hat like a fool. One of the Diamondbacks hats I have that they sent me, it's a cool one. It's got some of those cool like Arizona artwork on the brim, whatever. It's their 25th anniversary hat. They're a baby. They're a baby team. This is new. Or at least they're coming out of infancy.
They are among, if not the newest team.
Right. They went to the World Series 2 years ago, or a year, however you'd measure that now. They won 89 games last year. They missed the playoffs just from that Freaky Friday Mets-Braves thing that went on. Obviously, they could have won other games during their season, but 89 wins and a World Series the year before. It's not like Corbin Burnes is signing with, I don't know, the Marlins or whoever, insert team here. That if you took away the Diamondbacks, the name, and that just kind of how you know the franchise, like new Arizona team. I don't know. Maybe I'm too gung-ho on it. Maybe I'm just... If you've got an owner that's willing to give out money like they have the past couple years, they signed Jordan Montgomery. Remember that signed us. I know the owner came back and said bad things. Corbin Burnes, that surprised us. This is a World Series team. They had the #1 offense in baseball last year. They signed Erod, which that one was a surprise. Like, The other thing that's just in my head is how much World Series money did they get? That's something we always talk about, whether it's selling tickets or people in the stands or whatever. Did the World Series type money and winning and packing the house, did that allow them to get Corbin Burnes? Because the best way to bring people in and have people watch is have a winner. So maybe they realize that with some of the World Series money. Or my other secret option that freaks me out that I tell Diamondback fans don't listen to this. The next move seems clear. It seems like they're going to trade Jordan Montgomery because the owner said it was a bad move. Jordan Montgomery still has some value. We've seen the pitcher contracts that have been given out.
And on a 1 year, and then you can be clean of them if it doesn't work.
This is a guy that's a year removed from we thought he'd get 100, if not more. So there's value there. And like I said, there's either a first base or a DH spot open. That seems to be the move. Jolly Olive tweeted out Jordan Montgomery for Spencer Torkelson. Interesting. Some money shaking hands there. Spencer Torkelson, Arizona State. I don't know. I
like that one.
Yeah, it's a young player, not making a lot of high upside for Arizona.
They're always looking for more pop. So
pop. Have Dave McKay just kind of teach him the ropes.
I mean, they did by the end of the year. I know they got Josh Bell for different reasons, but they had him in the mix too. He played some amount of first base, or even with having Christian Walker. So
that's true. Yeah, and I mean,
him and Naylor split some time there in DH.
That's the other side. I poo-pooed it for a second, but also, hey, sometimes you just do have to build the best team, and maybe that's what they're looking for. So that would be the obvious move. It's Monty out, bring in another first baseman, or maybe there's something creative there. We don't know. Right now, Pavin Smith is slotted in as a starting DH, which year 4 of Diamondback fans being like, hey, I don't think we can bank on Pavin Smith.
Yeah.
In the nicest way. He's got a couple splits out there over different parts of 4 years that have been nice. Otherwise, it hasn't been reliable.
The one I've been thinking about for them is figuring out Monty for Yoshida. I think they'd want more pop, but just thinking of guys that we think a team wants to be rid of.
Sox kind of getting off money there.
They kind of like having a DH.
Yeah, no, that we've discussed that one. There's so many ways they can go with it that I'm interested to see where they land. And hey, I mean, I don't know. What if the D-backs are entering their Padres moment and the Alonso price is attainable and they trade Monty? Like, is that just money out, money in? I'm not saying there's any smoke or fire there, but they rolled out $210 for Corbin Burnes. I think it was the 6th biggest AAV for a pitcher ever. So just a reminder, when teams get frustrated, like when we get mad at the White Sox for never giving out big contracts, this is why. And I don't know. I guess I'm just gung-ho on Phoenix, Scottsdale, and Arizona. Well, going back to the famous state draft, John Boy Jake TV. I don't know. Like, that city has blown up. The sports teams are wildly popular there. Like, the Suns are crazy popular. Like, they brought in KD. That was a whole craziness. Like, the Cardinals have had their moments, the Larry Fitz Super Bowls and things like that. That, I don't know. I think it's a sports town. They host spring training, and this was part of my World Series rants with Arizona. That, like, this should become a big baseball town, and they're making some strides that way. So, let's see the next moves for them. I would love to see, if they can make the Monty thing happen for another hitter. The dark thing for me, for Snakes fans, is Zach Gallen's on the last year of his contract. Like, let's say this Corbin Burnes thing all came together, and Corbin Burnes wanted to play there. We talked about the taxes. We talked about his family. That Corbin Burnes was like, hey, if you get me to 2 bills, I'm in. Was that money they were planning on giving to Zach Gallen?
So the future money.
Does that make Zach Gallen disposable? I don't think so. This is all just...
Yeah, and probably not before the season, but if they went similarly to a year ago?
I don't know. It's interesting to think about because Corbin Burnes is one of those signings that isn't just, hey, this is next year. Like this clearly affects their next 2 years opt out. And then I guess you could say a little more after that. But the Snakes, they play for rings in the desert. And the Diamondbacks went from quiet offseason to now kind of electric with more room to wiggle. The San Francisco Giants are doing things. The Padres won 93 games last year. What are they going to do is one of the wild questions. And the Dodgers, they re-signed Teoscar. Great. It actually is great, and putting away World Series envy there for my Diamondbacks and my Yanks. He loves that city. They love him. Everything fits. It's kind of how baseball is supposed to work. Like Teoscar became beloved by that city, and he fits the team. And he was a free agent, so just pay him what he deserves, and he'll stay. And that's kind of how it's supposed to work. The one that's just complete, pardon my French, bullshit. They signed Michael Conforto just for like bonus pieces.
Slipped that in right before Soto went down.
1 for 17, I think. 17 and a half. Like, real money. Like, this isn't, I don't know. This isn't, they brought in a platoon guy to kind of come out. This is, Gleyber Torres that we're going to talk about in a minute. Like, that was a big move for the Tigers. Like, the Tigers got a top of the lineup second baseman. Like, Gleyber's probably going to hit first or second for them. And he got 1 year, 15. Conforto got more than that. And for the Dodgers, it's an extra piece. They still have James Outman, Chris Taylor, Miggy Rowe. Bobby Miller's currently listed as a AAA pitcher for them. Ohtani's going to pitch next year. It's the embarrassment of riches that they are currently at. And I think the other thing that's interesting is if they try to trade a James Outman or Andy Pages, who both guys had really strong rookie years.
Is currently listed in AAA.
I mean, where things really get sick, BBD, I know you've been dreaming of some Minnesota Twins trades for our Yankees. Coach Trev mentioned this. Relievers don't have the value we think they do. If it was a Duran for Andy Pages, Outman, I don't know. Like that, it just feels like that's going to be the next Dodgers move, is going to be them bringing in either a high-leverage reliever or another just asset, because they can. I don't know. The NL West is insane. Like Rockies, oh my God. You're out. No offense to Kyle Farmer. Wishing him luck there. The Giants are really investing in this team. And I don't know who they're keeping up with at this point, but dude, Willie Adames and Matt Chapman, those were both over $150. Jung-Hoo Lee was $100.
They were in on this Corbin Burnes deal at $2-something.
They added Robbie Ray, who he gets paid money. They were in on Corbin Burnes. They're probably going to be on another starting pitcher looking at their roster, although there's some other BBD trades that have been dreamt up there that we will see how that plays out. But I don't know, man. The NL West, Diamondbacks won 89 games last year. Looks like they're making moves. The Giants, 80 and 82, they keep trying to make bigger moves to get in the mix. And Buster Posey's running the team now. So watch it. The Dodgers are as automatic as a team can possibly be.
Yeah.
They can't win less than 90 games.
No.
Impossible.
The depth and high-end talent is too good.
Literally impossible. That's nuts. That's not how baseball's supposed to work.
And they've done it together already.
Right.
You might remember this past year. It's not one of those things where sometimes first-year teams together, it is a little sloppy.
I mean, the other joke that was making me laugh, Oh, Dave Roberts, good manager now. So they've got that.
Great manager.
He's a great manager. Hall of Fame manager. So, the NL West, let's see what the Padres do, because no one knows what they're doing with their money or their team. I mean, they still have a lot of high-end talent. Arise, Tatis, Merrill, Machado, Cronenworth, Bogarts. I even still have some Luis Campusano stock, but we'll get there. Cease, King, Darvish, Vasquez, Waldron. So, I don't know. Their bullpen is still nasty. Remember that? Remember, this was the team that was beating the Dodgers. So, the NL West is just a beautifully stacked disaster that I don't really know. I don't know where we're going to land. And with the expanded playoffs and the Centrals, both kind of need to pick it up. I know they don't want to hear that from me, but whatever. Let's see, round off some of these other moves. I think one of my favorite moves from the offseason is going to be Nathaniel Lowe to Texas. From Texas to the Nationals, excuse me. At first, I did not like it because I was like, Nathaniel Lowe doesn't change the Nationals' outlook for me. Nathaniel Lowe, I think, is really good. Nathaniel Lowe is the 6th hitter on one of these great teams in baseball. I'd be like, oh, yes. There are some ways that you can butterknife his numbers that he has been as consistent and as good as a lot of hitters in baseball. If you do his last 3 seasons, 277, 360, a 798 OPS, 124 OPS plus. Like, that is a really good baseball player. And I know, like, the home run numbers don't jump. Like, his biggest flaw is no individual number jumps off the map. Everything is a solid B. 277 batting average? B. 360 on base? It's probably closer to an A, but that's a B+. 20 homers a year? B-. 27 doubles a year? B. So it's just funny that, like, almost because he doesn't have a MLB superpower, I think he gets knocked down a little bit. But he's won a Gold Glove in this league. And yeah, he had a 120 OPS plus last year. Again, the stat line isn't as jumpy as, like, okay, what was Giancarlo's? This will be a fun game. Giancarlo's OPS plus last year, 115. Now, he had one of the weirder stat lines you'll see.
Yeah.
233, 298, 475 slug, 72 homers in 114 games. But it's just the concept to me that, like, Nathaniel Lowe has done this now, since 2021, he has been Nathaniel Lowe. And I think, again, there was a Nathaniel. Maybe that's part of the problem. The sex appeal wasn't as high as it was for other hitters. He got traded for a relief pitcher with a lot of control, and maybe he's good, and maybe that'll be the whole thing. And if Nathaniel Lowe has a bad year, you kind of have to pay him real money. So that's part of the thought process we don't get into as front offices on our own. But for the Nationals, who are rumored to be in an Alonso or Christian Walker or Carlos Santana, they were in the first base dance. That it was like, ooh, do you bring in Santana to kind of guide these young players? Do you bring in Alonso? You take him from the Mets and you kind of set the tone, but how's Alonso going to age? They found a real safe spot here with Nathaniel Lowe. Set it and forget it at first base. The Nationals are going to be dictated by how their younger players develop. Does James Wood become one of the best players in baseball? That'll be a huge factor. Does Dylan Cruz become one of the best players in baseball? That'll be a factor. Where does C.J. Abrams land in this whole thing? And they might be in the free agent mix still. He's one of the Bregman rumored teams. It would be a surprise, but right now we're entering Bregman surprise territory because it's starting to get late early.
Kind of seems like it's going to have to be a surprise. I don't know.
We'll see. I think there's enough teams that can fit Alex Bregman in that he's going to be okay. But Yeah, I don't know. The other thing for the Nationals, say it just doesn't click next year, which I just talked about your beautiful NL West. The NL East, what are your Mets expectations going to be? They're going to be pretty high. They've put in a lot of work. What are your Braves expectations going to be? Pretty high. They're getting some dudes back, and wouldn't be surprised if they get involved in some of this offseason dance. The Phillies. So no matter what the Nats really do this offseason, they're coming in as the 4th team in the NL East. So even if you like the Nats, say you got your Natitude up, you're into Jake Irvin. I think we all are. Mitchell Parker breakout continues. Yep. They signed Mike Soroka to a cheeky contract. He's got some numbers you'd like. He used to be really good. Like, if it comes together for the Nats, and maybe it does, who also brought in Josh Bell today. Sure. So maybe they are out on Bregman. Well, who knows? Are you going to like the Nats more than the Mets, Braves, or Phillies coming into the season? No. So let's say the Nats thing isn't fully clicking next year. Well, Nathaniel Lowe, if he's being Nathaniel Lowe, which for the past 4 years he's only proved that he is Nathaniel Lowe, you also have a pretty nice asset there. So if they need to flip him and go get some other pieces, whether it's at this deadline, the end of next season, or even the next deadline, I really like that move for them. And again, it was just kind of changing my scope from, in my head, them signing Alonso and maybe him hitting 42 homers next year. That changed the Nats' feel. And Lowe doesn't have that. But he also doesn't have the risk or the crazy contract that you're going to have to sign Alonso to. So I ended up really liking that move. Luis Garcia Jr., good.
Yeah.
That's it.
Good year for him.
It was a good year for him. 18 homers, 22 steals.
24 years old.
More homers than Nathaniel Lowe. So, let's see. The other big moves that need to be checked off. Carlos Santana to Cleveland. Yeah. Yep. Naylor out, Santana in. He likes it there. They like him. 1-year terms. Beautiful thing for Cleveland. That's how they operate. Manaea, I guess I did that one quick, but Sean Manaea, 3 for 75? Do I have that number right?
I believe that's right.
Same as Nathan Eovaldi? Nathan Eovaldi on our friend Kylie McDaniel's not favorite contracts.
Oh. Age.
Manaea comes back with the Mets, like I talked about briefly. He'll be towards the top of that rotation with Senga. I mean, they're listing him as the one. 181.2 innings pitched last year, 184 strikeouts, a 3.47 ERA. So he was class, and he clearly found something and was tapping into something. So maybe there's more there. It is you're playing a video game, and the year is 2027, and you're like, oh, we're playing the Mets. Who's in their rotation? Manaea, Senga, Montas, Pederson, Clay Holmes. You're like, oh, man, the video game really
got weird.
Video game really took off on us. Let's see what that looks like. They clearly think they can tap into something pitching-wise, and they only got 5.1 regular season innings out of Senga last year. So they should get more than that. Yeah. It's just a question of what can you fully bank on from these individual guys, but maybe 3 out of 4 fully click. And
yeah, I guess we really do forget just how good Senga was in the year he actually pitched. Good. 3rd in the Cy Young. And, like, there is enough. You can start the year with this, even if you think they need another Manaea or better come the playoffs. Like, you can get that during the season if another move doesn't come together before the season starts.
And they have enough depth pieces. I mean, Paul Blackburn, McGill, Griffin Canning. Watch out. Change of scenery, guy.
Next Luke Weaver.
Buy some Griffin Canning stock while you can. Trying to tell me Jose Budo can start? Let's see it. He returns to the Mets. That's another one of those good free agent signings. Like, yes, he wanted to be there. They wanted him.
Everyone liked that.
Let's figure this out. The only team that probably didn't, San Francisco Giants. I think they are looking for
maybe the Orioles.
A last body for the rotation. The Orioles don't even. The Orioles are starting to get me mad, and part of it is because the Red Sox signed Walker Buehler, and I like Walker Buehler a lot. And you saw why in the postseason. The Boston Red Sox, we're talking about all this talent moving around and a lot of it going to the National League. The Boston Red Sox, I think, can have a pretty good argument to be your second favorite team in the AL. It's tough to propel them above the Yankees, and there is a Derek Jeter height chart behind me if you're watching on YouTube. So, again, maybe there are some biases that I'm not seeing. If I am, feel free to chime in. But, man, Crochet. That was a big one. Walker Buehler. Tanner Houck, who broke out last year. 3-1-2 from Tanner Houck. Brian Bayo, Cutter Crawford, both with different offerings of upside or consistency. That the Red Sox have their best rotation in a while. They may have their best bullpen in a while. Liam Hendricks, Aroldis Chapman, Slayton really broke out for them last year, and then they've got some lottery ticket guys. Michael Fulmer with the NRI. They signed Justin Wilson. I don't know. I don't know about that. My look is throwing me off. Is it George Stephanopoulos? What is this? And that all goes with the Red Sox lineup that they've got a mix of it all. Mostly lefties and mostly talented young baseball players. Then let's see if there's another move in there, or let's see if there's... It feels like they're a righty move away, and maybe that's Bregman, and oh my God, Red Sox fever will take off. Bregman and Buehler? That's some Yankees nightmare fuel. Maybe it's a trade. Maybe it's more pitching. Who knows? The Red Sox could not be done yet, and they could still be arguably the number 2 in the AL. And if you're the number 2 in the AL, you got a damn shot. And maybe they're higher than that. Because maybe the Yankees are going to miss Soto more than they thought, or maybe the Yankees aren't going to round off their offseason, or maybe something's not going to click. And if you don't like Texas or Houston or Seattle or Central, yeah, Baltimore's done nothing. Sorry, Tyler O'Neill. From the Red Sox, Tyler O'Neill was great last year, so I guess I should say that with a little less aggression, but I say that because they lost Anthony Santander, who hit 44 homers, and they lost Corbin Burns. They haven't lost Santander. He's still a free agent, but they have lost Corbin Burns, who was their ace. And there's something to the stability of an ace in a rotation that, like, I know Eflin came over was great, and I know the Gray Rod breakout was kind of happening while getting banged up. And I know they signed your guy Sugano, and maybe he's the second coming. Maybe he's the Burns replacement. And kind of like I was saying with the team across the interstate there, the Nationals, they're going to need Adley Rutschman to bounce back if they want to be good. They're going to need Colton Cowser or Cedric Mullins to bounce back. Cowser, another young guy to take a leap. Like, that's how Jackson Holiday, be that guy. Jordan Westberg. God, it takes a lot for me to not call him Jordan Westbug. Maybe we'll work on that. Maybe we'll meet him. Maybe he's a nice guy. Heston Kjerstad. I don't know. Are they going to trade for Dylan Cease? Are they going to trade more capital for another 1-year free agent pitcher that's going to demand a ton of money? I don't know enough about the business model, but I know, like, last year's Brewers trade, can you say it didn't pay off for them? I mean, Corbin Burns was really good, but Joey Ortiz looks solid. DL Hall, we don't know. I don't know. I guess we don't know yet.
I mean,
if Joey Ortiz is good, which Joey Ortiz played really well last year.
Currently looks like he's a guy.
Is he currently the Brewers' starting shortstop?
I believe he's currently there. And I mean, Orioles disappointing in the postseason and final result. Not Burns' fault, but
not Burns' fault.
You had 1 year guaranteed of him.
Man, Tyler O'Neill had a great year. Happy for him. And hey, there is more offseason left. I thought about doing some winner losers before, but there's a lot of you can still
title's coming.
You can still have a full offseason. You can still have a full happy offseason. The Orioles could sign Santander. They could trade for Dylan Cease, and you'd be like, wow, okay, that's good. So if your team hasn't been getting mentioned a lot, there's still hope, but we're running out of some opportunities. I mentioned Gleyber, but I'll mention it again briefly. Happy for Gleyber. The defense at second base was tough that I was wondering, like, how many teams would even allow Gleyber to play second base, and that's the only position he's played. And then the crazy part out of Tigers camp was they said they were going to trade Torkelson and move Colt Keith to first, which Colt Keith, if I remember, not one of the biggest cats you've seen on a baseball field. Okay, listed 6'2", 211. In my head, I thought we were going to bring up a 6 flat here and do some cleats. So, hey, if they like him and they think that can work and they've got some other young, talented infielders, okay. And yeah, for Gleyber, I mean, just the way Gleyber Torres hits and the way that team has been looking for hitting, Gleyber Torres will hit with that team. And weirdly enough, I know it's an expansive ballpark, but I have Gleyber Torres hitting some of his longest home runs in Detroit. There's one I can picture very vividly that I think I tweeted out without looking. I was like, is that Gleyber's longest home run this year? I think I got Poindextered. I think there was 1 or 2 more that were further. But I've seen him hit in that park, and he just feels like the joke I keep using is let that goatee grow, but it's a little symbolic of, like, get away from the Yankees. Let's see.
Get in the ballpark like that and we find a few more doubles. Like
Comerica Park, 2 games last year, 804 OPS. This guy's a stud.
Best ever.
Let's see the career splits. Because, yeah, if Gleyber had landed in one of these small ballparks, we'd be talking about, can he find his 30-homer potential again? I don't want Gleyber to find that potential again, if I'm being completely honest. I don't think that's the best version of Gleyber Torres. Career in Comerica, 283, 377, a 1.0 OPS, 5 homers in 15 games. Maybe it's the next Willie Adames. Imagine if Gleyber couldn't see at Yankee Stadium this whole time. He could. He just got coached very lightly at the start. And hey, for my Central people, I'll tell you what you don't want to see. Top of the order, Riley Green, Gleyber Torres, Kerry Carpenter. Sure. That'll score some runs. And again, the Dodgers signed Michael Conforto for more than that as a bonus piece. So that was a little bit of a roundabout catch-up of what has happened. I think I've still missed a thing or two, but upcoming, Alonso, Bregman. Those are 2 of the big ones. Pete and the Mets have been linked. Supposedly their last offer was around 3 for $90, and Pete wants a lot more than that. So let's see who else comes to contention, although are a lot of the first base spots filled? Should the Blue Jays?
They're the one team that I've been kind of really thinking about.
God, they're so righty. How did this happen again, Blue Jays?
Hey, they got Jimenez.
Will Wagner. Wow. Let's see what goes on with them. Santander. Profar's out there, and that's going to be a unique free agent that no one's going to know what to do with that. But after that, your offensive weapons are really limited. And pitching-wise, we're actually, whatever team signs Nick Pivetta is going to talk themselves into some Nick Pivetta, and I've got no qualms with that. Our guy Jack Flaherty is out there looking for some big boy money that he deserves. So there's still a few significant pieces out there. Like the Jeff Hoffman's going to be a starting pitcher somewhere next year. Let's see that story come out. Tanner Scott's going to get some real money. Otherwise, we're starting to hit the point of free agency where it can be one or two guys that you're like, oh, I think they can help. Quintana. Let's get some good starts out of him. Who else was I looking at? That was one of the... Jesse Winker.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, if we tap into some good Jesse Winker and he can play some corner and DH for us, hey, we might get a good ball player there for a year. But that's just a different scope than what we're talking about for a lot of these other free agents. Teams that really need to get going. One of my favorite segments to do. Baltimore Orioles, got to have it. Got to have something from you. And I think something's coming. I'm just nervous about what it is, and so are Orioles fans. Toronto, my goodness. What is going on in the Great Norte? Because I do not know. They are in on every free agent, it seems. But this roster is pretty bizarre right now. There's some money in that pitching staff. Springer, Bichette, Vlad are still there. Is your best lefty hitter Will Wagner? Nathan Lukes? Joey Loperfido? I don't know.
Jeez.
Again, Santander to them had been my joke throughout the year. Maybe we'll see that come to fruition because they need some switch hitting help. But those teams have been oddly out of the mix. I should be giving Tyler O'Neill more credit, but still, parts in, parts out, it's not there. Let's see. Athletics, no. White Sox, no. Cleveland, kind of no. They've done their work.
They're a little bit in Brewers territory. It's like, I blindly trust it to be good.
Detroit supposedly still in the mix with Bregman. That one's always been weird for me. With the money to Baez, I don't see it as a fit. But Detroit probably has some more work to do. The Royals are always looking to do something. Angels scaring themselves. Twins probably unloading stuff. Let's see what that looks like. Have the Mariners been oddly quiet? I think so. Yes. And we know they have that pitching. They've got a couple spots in their lineup where they could use guys right now. And they've got a couple okay spots, and that's the frustration, man.
God.
Julio, Cal Raleigh, Randy. Go get Pete, man. Pete'll hit it out of there. I swear. I swear it.
Just give him his money.
They could use a lefty too. They have so much pitching. Houston feels like they have a couple nuclear moves. We walked everyone through that a couple episodes ago. They've got some outfield spots, and they've got some good fits that could slot in there potentially. Although Joc was one of them, and he's gone. That again, Santander, like that market has reopened up. That as it gets later into free agency, I think the players get scared. But when there's still holes left, and you're the last guy left, I think things are going to work out, that he would be a great fit in Houston. Our Texas Rangers, man.
Joc.
Simeon Seager, Wyatt Langford, Joc Pederson, Adolis Garcia, Josh Young, Evan Carter, Jake Berger, and Jonah Heim. They have Jake Berger with his 29 homers last year slotted as their 8-hitter. This isn't an official Bruce Bochy lineup, but I think there is going to be some Tigers or some Texas stock being bought. Joc Pederson, man, he got the 2-year with an opt-out, 393 on base last year. With 23 homers in 449 games. If there's a righty pitcher out there, throw Joc at him. Him and Bochy are going to be delightful. Texas is going to be in love with him. He's going to be beloved everywhere he goes. I mentioned Jonah Heim. They signed Higgy.
Yeah.
Zeke Duran and Josh Smith on the bench. 2 guys that have been util all-stars. Leody Taveras is currently listed on their bench. Evaldi, DeGrom, Gray, Molly, Bradford. My guy Dane Dunning surviving. I wonder if they could be looking to add another starting pitcher, and I wonder if they could kind of trade it from some of their depth, or maybe they're one of these old school teams, Bruce Bochy, that depth is good. That's how depth used to be. So that's exciting. Let's see. Anything else on West? No, I'm good there. National League, Snakes in the fight. Atlanta could go either way.
Sneaky quiet.
Dylan Cease, maybe. Cubbies have had a bit of an offseason without mentioning the Vidal Brujan trade. That let's see again. It feels like they have another move to make. It's just where are they going to make it? But they've already put in some work. I appreciate that. My Cincinnati Reds are kind of in a funky spot that I don't remember that Brady Singer, Jonathan India trade that was one of our first snacks of the offseason. They could be done, and we'd say, okay, and I'll come back to liking this team because they're kind of deep. Okay. Get me off the Reds page. Colorado, never. Dodgers, super team. Miami, never. Milwaukee. Mets have Mets. Phillies have sneakily Phillied while also still being in the mix for a nuclear move. Pittsburgh! What? What is we doing, baby?
Get someone. Kutch is back.
Padres, similar boat, but different. Giants are in the mix for everyone. St. Louis is not, and the Nats are teetering. That's kind of where it's at for December 30th into the offseason. You're starting to get countdowns. I think it's less than 3 months till opening day. Mm-hmm. That's what we get with those March starts now.
Under the 100-day mark, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're under 90. So that'll lead to spring training, which will lead to everything else. Speaking of everything else, I mean, we're late in there, but I think it's a one-ep week, so let's just crank. As we head towards the football, and I want to give one of our John Boy Media friends a shout-out here, part of the inspiration today. Our guy, Courage, he messaged me, and you know what? I'll give the selfie to BBD to get on the screen because I was feeling a very similar emotion of, the holidays and everyone's podcast is on a different schedule. Courage sent me a selfie of himself thinking into the distance, sending to Davis Wimbledon. He said, out walking, no waking Jake, no talking Yanks, no talking baseball, Gleyber gone, recent Jake hair on pods getting a little long, things are getting dark. And I think we all kind of knew that holiday feeling, so I'm glad I could be back in the lab doing this, and I can't just skip football because we're at an hour, so let's talk about it a little bit, and I do need to throw my college football under the bus for a little bit because the first round of games were tough. The 12-team bracket, that it was the first year they've rolled out, and I've talked about some of the flaws. There's Courage just in the distance. Just wishing he could have headphones in, hearing a voice talk about sports. I get that feeling. I know that feeling. So we're getting learnings, and it's also that weird thing that you need to preface this with there's only 1 year of data, so we need to see more data. And I do think that's true. But one thing that clearly felt off was the seeding. Boise State getting a bye and a 3 seed compared to the other teams, that seemed a little ridiculous. But college football did. The top qualified, automatic qualifiers from their leagues get in. And it was interesting. I was listening to Joel Klatt talk about that, and they said that was non-negotiable because they want championship games to matter. And by matter, they mean people pay money to go to the games. So that's where college football is at. That Boise State and Arizona State should not have byes. It probably should have just been the top 4 teams. We're working on that. Something that I think is egregious and will be changed, and maybe not, and this is where you need more data and all of that. But given college teams home field advantage in a playoff game, I don't know. I think I heard Matt Leinart talk earlier this year, like just make all of these bowl games like at different sites. And it gets a little tricky, right? Because you start doing teams and regions, but like NCAA basketball does that. Like they don't just rank them in order. It's like, oh, the West region and BYU's a 12 seed. Well, why don't we make them that 12 seed, even if it's not fair? And everyone kind of gets over it. So we'd have to figure that out with making these all bowl games. And maybe we will, maybe we won't. Or maybe they like that. But SMU at Penn State, Pony Express got grounded quickly, and part of that was because of their quarterback. He played one of the worst games you could possibly play. So that's not good, but part of that was they had an early 4th and 1 where he could have scrambled. He threw it into the end zone for an interception. Bad. But also that Penn State crowd got insane. Same thing with Ohio State. Ohio State hosted Tennessee, and they thwomped them. And they probably would have thwomped them anywhere. Neutral site, in Tennessee even. But the fact that they had home field, and then Notre Dame, Indiana, although that final score looks a lot closer than it was. And maybe these were the matchups this year, and these teams never had a shot. And I talked about some of the quarterbacks and how the quarterbacks aren't where they need to be, or you'd be surprised how they look this college football playoff. But yeah, it was all home favorites. And I think I'm talking the spread too, which is insane. But college football home field advantage is worth like 10 points. I know that's not exactly how the math works out, but we're also talking a playoff game. Penn State was nuts. Ohio State as well. So, unfortunately, the entertainment that those games potentially could have provided got overruled. And I'm not going to do the whole speech. Alabama should have been in. I think South Carolina was actually the team that got screwed the most in all of this. But I don't think it would have mattered because they would have been on the road. Road playoff games, these places were nuts. Like Penn State, I think exams were over, so it was literally just drunk kids there. That kind of matters. That's why we have home field advantages. So something to look into. Again, maybe it's just 1 year and it's how everything laid out. But like, okay, Tennessee was the 9th seed. Ohio State was the 8th seed. And that gave Ohio State home field advantage? That's pretty significant. And maybe if that's as important and maybe we want to roll on with that, cool. But yeah, that part just felt a little off to me. But I'm also a unique college football fan. So I'll tell you this. For tomorrow, Penn State, Boise State. If you haven't seen Ashton Jeanty play yet, please watch. He is loads of fun. 29 rushing touchdowns this year. His unique stance in the backfield, and it's everything. Like the few Boise State games I got to watch this year, which was actually more, it's like, again, it's probably 3 Boise State games, but like, what the hell am I doing? Anyways, he's complete. Like, it's not like, whoa, Boise State opens up a huge hole. He beats one guy and goes. Like, it's every carry with him. If he gets a little bit of space, he's got you. If he's bigger than you, he'll be bigger than you. If he's smaller than you, he'll be faster than you. And every run, it feels like he's falling forward or getting a couple yards even when it's not the breakout runs. I'm very interested to see. Everyone thinks Penn State is going to kill them. Penn State is an 11-point favorite because they're good in the line. So Penn State is one of the few teams that they've held up with Ohio State and Oregon, and that's where the game is, right? That maybe they're just dominant down there and all that cool stuff about Ginty doesn't matter. I will be interested to see. The way everyone else who knows college football is talking about it, that I respect, is saying Penn State is going to give them the business. In the way they talked about the home teams doing it last game, this isn't a home game. This is at a neutral spot, the VRBO Fiesta Bowl. Watch out. 11-point Penn State. I don't know. I guess maybe I just want to believe in Ginty too much. And maybe they're going to be outclassed and outskilled by Penn State across the field. But I don't know. A girl can dream for now. Oregon, Ohio State. As I'll avenge myself from those first-round matchups, I said right after the Oregon-Ohio State game, if they could somehow get these teams to play in the playoffs, and we got it. It's in the quarterfinals, which some people aren't happy about because some people are like, this might be the championship game. They will run it back with Ohio State as favorites in the Rose Bowl against undefeated Oregon, who beat them. Yo, you want to talk about a coach being able to scream at the boys? You guys beat this team? We're going to a neutral site, and they're the favorites? Meanwhile, Ohio State is playing with the vim and vigor of 10,000 Suns because this is the whole crew that they never beat Michigan 4 years. Ryan Day supposed to be good as dead as a head coach, and they came now and they played one of the best games of the season. So that is much must watch. I started with Boise because that's New Year's Eve, 7:30 p.m. Ohio State, Oregon is 5 p.m. New Year's Day. Okay, talk myself into that. Before that is Texas, Arizona State, your Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Texas is a 13-point favorite. This is what I'm talking about with the buys. Like, parts of this system are still clearly a little broken, and this is one of them. I don't know. Again, I hope these games aren't living up to their spread billing because that would stink. But Arizona State with Scattaboo, that'll be the word of the day on New Year's Day. The joke with him is, how good is he going to look with Belichick in New England? That joke's about 5 years old now because he now coaches North Carolina. But white running back who plays just like an absolute dog. The receiving and the rushing are electric. Let's see what he can do to the Texas defense. And Texas's offense has left a lot of questions out there. But, I mean, this is the Texas Longhorns. Their 2 losses are to Georgia. Where Arizona State this year, it felt like they kind of came out of nowhere. Their losses to Texas Tech and Cincinnati. So, that just feels a little different. Their head coach, Arizona State, I think younger than me. That's tough. Yeah.
That hurts.
Kenny Dillingham. Nice. It was a cool wiki read. Again, why was I there? Why haven't I read a book this year? But I read Kenny Dillingham's Wikipedia. Let's finish off Notre Dame, Georgia. This is the last game of the day. This is the smallest line. Again, 2 kind of traditional powers here. Georgia has a 1.5-point favorite without Carson Beck, who's declaring for the draft, even though his season is over due to injury. That is kind of the story that it depends what you believe in. Like, Georgia without Carson Beck hadn't played great for them recently. That now they're going to their backup quarterback. His name, my apologies. Who is Stockton, Gunnar Stockton. That's right. Who's more of a run threat than a pass threat. That the Georgia offense was actually clicking decently because maybe they leaned into the run a little bit more, and maybe that's a good thing for them. We'll see. Their Notre Dame, people are saying Notre Dame might be better than them on the lines. I always get scared with that with an SEC school. When we're seeing some of Notre Dame's footage against recently, like Army, Virginia. I don't know. Maybe that's me being rude and obnoxious, but this is queued up to be one of the good ones. Personally, no clue. I love the way Notre Dame has been playing. The way they run the ball is just absolutely electric. I think Georgia can say the same thing, that it should be a fun one, and maybe it comes down to the quarterbacks, and you've got inexperienced Gunnar Stockton versus Riley Leonard, who's played a ton of college ball. Listen, a lot of people like Notre Dame in that game, and not just because they're drunk Irish guys. So I'm hoping that the next couple days redeem the college football playoffs. And if that whole first weekend was kind of a bust, what if this weekend is great? What if the following week is great, where there's 2 games, and then there's still a championship after that? So it's a ton of college football, and it's so funny how far college football has come to get to this point, because this is basically professional football. But hopefully we get some electric matchups in there. And then with my NFL association, I think I can be somewhat high and tightish because the NFL just plays every day now during the holidays. So that's pretty wild. Like this week technically happened going back to Wednesday, Christmas, with the Chiefs playing Pittsburgh and Baltimore playing Houston. Both those games were a dud. I've got a few buddies in the group chat getting pretty hot that all of these short week games are kind of hot garbage. And I don't know. I think there's some data that would help, and one of those data points would be Baltimore-Houston 31-2. So did you get to watch NFL football on Netflix on Christmas? You did. And I loved it. I'm a sports junkie. The games were bad. So we just got to figure this out. Again, we're evolving. Let's just figure this out a little bit better.
Still did a Thursday game. I don't know.
Still did, and that was a great game because that was Seattle-Chicago 6-3 final. And hey, I don't know how many of you come for football stuff. I don't know how many just listen to it. Maybe some of you like it, and I appreciate that. Caleb Williams, some of the numbers are in a historic area. Let's see. They're obviously a disaster. Their head coach and some of the timeouts called in that game were disgusting. Know who was in the building, though? Ian Happ. Chicago Bears posted him on their Instagram story. So
like that.
It's good to be the king. I don't know. The MVP conversation's fun. Go listen to the football guys talk about that because I don't know what's going to happen between Lamar, Josh, Saquon, Joe Burrow from the rafters. There was Saturday football. Oh, so you're looking for the good game. Chargers, New England, 40-7. Some of the quarterbacks that are getting run out this weekend, by golly. Again, like it kind of doesn't matter if you've made it to this part of the NFL season and hey, there's some fantasy implications, some championships are going down today. But the teams that are out of it feel more out of it than they've ever been. That the one good game Saturday was my Denver Broncos versus Cincinnati Bengals. Goes to overtime. Joe Burr for 412. Bo Nix let a couple eat. But the Bengals and T. Higgins, 3 touchdowns. That'll go down as a fantasy legend in some circles. They get it done against the Horsies in Cincinnati. Cincinnati has playoff hopes. They need my Broncos to lose. I want to say the other thing is they need the Dolphins to lose next week. So that might not happen. And they need the Broncos to lose to the Chiefs, who the Chiefs are probably resting their starters, but they also might not be resting their starters because they're going to get a bye. So if they don't play that game, I think their next game would be like 25 days. So if you're a rust person, which I don't know if the Chiefs are, you also can't get Mahomes hurt in a game that doesn't matter. So let's see how that sorts out. Rams beat the Cardinals 13-9. Again, another kind of slop fest. It ended with Kyler coming back down the field, plunks the receiver in the helmet, pops up, interception to lose. It was cool to see Arizona's tight end Trey McBride get the touchdown after setting the record for most receptions to start a season without getting one. Pretty insane for a tight end. That's crazy. Big weekend for the tight ends. Brock Bowers, he set a bunch of rookie receiving records this weekend. So tight ends, big back. Some of them literally. What was that? Joe's McFly's got me with that one. He keeps calling thicker people big backs. And I was like, can I use that? Is that appropriate? And he's like, I think so. I don't know.
That's a problem.
If it's not, I'm okay with being canceled. Big backs. Speaking of more good football game, the Jets, they got obliterated by the Bills, 40-14 final. It was uglier than that for a little bit. Jets had a 0 on the scoreboard through 3. That team, Sauce Gardner's replying to people on Instagram.
Oh, what a screenshot.
T. Higgins telling he's put on T. Higgins' Instagram to not. I would tell him to not sign with the Jets. That's not good. It's another thing you didn't see Belichick's Patriots doing on social media. Raiders and Saints, no. Pay that man. Tell him to go to the Jets. I will not be telling him that. That's so bad.
I will not be telling him that.
So bad, the Jets. Speaking of Raiders and Saints, yep. The G-Men, 45 points. What a game against the Colts. Maybe it's ruined their draft position. But for a day, the Giants were the kings of the Meadowlands. Their only home win. The kick return touchdown was just a movie by, was that Amir Smith-Marset? So yeah, they're currently, after Shador was wearing Giants cleats, they're currently sitting at the 4 pick, right?
Yeah.
Out of position for a quarterback.
They've had, of the teams in the mix, I think they've had the strongest schedule. So to even get up to 2, I think they need some favors. And they play the Eagles, who will probably be resting next week. So it's a good time. It's a good time.
Whew. Congrats, G-Men. Eagles roll on the Cowboys. Another shocker. Cooper Rush and Kenny Pickett. And I do want to give a shout-out to our guy, Tanner McKee, who came into this game and got 2 touchdown passes. So, okay. Eagles, Saquon, they are rolling, in the Giants, or excuse me, Cowboys are in a very sad place for the rest of this season. Let's see, what are the other games that need to be discussed? My computer just froze on me. Tough at this point. Let's see. I talked about Joe Burr. Well, what was the nightcap game last night? Oh, Falcons. This was actually fun. Falcons, Commanders, couple of the young, hopefully stud QBs in this league. Jaden Daniels has obviously put enough out there that everyone is now on the Jaden wagon, which, reminder, Lil Poppy was there early. That was a really fun night shift with Penix leading the boys. Some crazy throws late to get them in the mix. If you're a Falcons fan, you have to be excited what you saw there. But Jaden, man, he is unreal, dude. When it needs to get done, he gets it done. And he's maybe my favorite QB to watch now. I don't know. Everything he does is so composed and so gliding and so in control. But yet he fights for other yards. It's not like Kyler has hit a point now where he slides early, and that's fine because he needs to do that to take care of him, to give Arizona the best shot. Like, that's just smart. Jaden, there are times when he glides and gets through tackles while still getting down gently, where he's still picking up extra yards. Every facet of his game I enjoy and love to watch. The Commanders are 11-5. They ended a 24-year postseason drought. 24? It's football.
Whoa.
It's football. So he's the king of that town. That was a fun way to end it. The other electric game yesterday that I skipped over because my page froze. No, it's not Dolphins-Browns, 20-3, some good QB play. No, it's not Titans-Jaguars. No, it's not Bucks-Panthers. They put up a big number. 5 TDs for Baker. Packers-Vikes. The Vikings and Sam Darnold get the 27-25 victory. Packers started off slow, and the Vikings really did not. Both of these teams are so good at spreading the ball around. Dobbs, Kraft, Ontavian Wicks, Melton, Reed, Musgrave, Heath with catches. Jefferson, Naylor, Addison, Hawkinson, Jones, Akers, Ham, Munt for the Vikings. And Sam Darnold's playing great. And the team celebration after the locker room, if you haven't seen it on social media, go look it up today because it's really cool to see how beloved that guy is. And it's going to lead to some fun Minnesota offseason stuff. / they're just going to franchise him. Everyone's like, whoa, it's going to be this big, crazy conversation. You got such an instant get-out-of-jail-free card. He's played amazing. We can pay him 1 year. If he does this again, he's our quarterback. We'll trade the first rounder we took last year, and if not, decisions made. Good fight by the Packers. They get back in this one. It's too little too late. Vikes complete the final first down on Cam Akers. Whoa. These two teams are really good. The Minnesota Vikings are 14-2 good. Kevin O'Connell. Do I take credit for that? Tall, handsome Vikings coach? Saw something. I didn't see this. And it's just a really interesting playoff picture. Because if the Lions win tonight, they're the 1 seed, which means that drops the Vikes to like the 5 seed. So we're going from number 1 seed home field through the playoffs to road playoff game to start. Like the NFC in a wild place, and mostly because of that NFC North and how good it's been this year. But yeah, it was an ugly 1 p.m. slate because they moved the other good games to weird primetime games this week. And then those games weren't great because they were off schedule and athletes are creatures of habit. But it still ended up on a high note. I mean, that Falcons-Commanders OT game, that was worth the watch. We're seeing those young guys sling it. So, ton of all the playoff scenarios for this weekend. Here's the analytics. Watch some of the college football. There should be a couple gems. Watch your fantasy weeks if you need them to play out. Although week 18, not for me. End your seasons in week 17, IMO. But we will see what games matter. Can my Broncos survive the Chiefs? Chiefs playing their backups probably. I think there's a couple other games that are going to be Vikings-Lions to end it. Kind of a playoff game Sunday night. How do you like that? So we talked a lot of sports. I'm glad I got to. I'm glad you guys were here with it. Glad I could see King Beebs before ringing in the New Year's. So hope this got you guys through this weird part of the year, drifting through into the New Year's, the cold weather, the gray. And we will be back probably not Thursday, Friday. I think we're catching up on other stuff. If there's something that we need to, maybe. Otherwise, we might see you next week and we'll know like the football playoffs. I don't know.
Wow.
Crazy time of year. Tell them about Uncle Dan.
Wake and Jake is a production of Dan Patrick Productions, John Boy Media, and Workhouse Media.